how to lose fat and keep it off effortlessly. 5 steps. Hi friends, Dr. Wade here. I'm a doctor of physical therapy and I've been helping patients for over 26 years. Not only that, there's a period of time where I was obese and I had to help myself. And now I'm about to share those principles with you on how to lose fat and keep it off effortlessly. So I'm excited you're here with me today. I've got 5 steps for you, and probably the first one is one of the most powerful, and the last step is the most important. So let's get into it. Number 1, decrease your eating frequency. Right now, all this stuff about eating 3 times a day, 6 times a day, we don't know where that came from. Well, we know during the Industrial Revolution is when we started doing, 3 times a day. But prior to that, eating 3 times a day, there's no reason, nowhere in human history can you find where we ate 3 times a day. In fact, there were plenty of times when people just didn't eat some days, okay? Now we're eating 3 and we're being told we need to eat smaller meals 6 times a day to maintain our blood sugar. Well, that's when everybody blew up in the 80s and became obese. And it creates a struggle. So through studies, many studies have shown this now, including several out of USC. If you will simply take your existing diet, as bad as it may be, and reduce your eating frequency. So let's say, or reduce the time in which you eat. Let's say you're eating now from say 8 in the morning and your last meal is 8 at night. Well, that's a 12-hour window. Let's say you took that window and you put it into 4 hours, but you still ate the same amount of food. Guess what? You're going to lose weight. Now, I'm not saying do that. I'm just saying that's how powerful restricting your time or restricting your eating window can be. Some people call it intermittent fasting. Some people call it time-restricted feeding. Some people call it just fasting. And so the bottom line is decrease your eating frequency. That's number 1. This eating 3 times a day and more, you will always struggle. Okay, so if you're going to eat 3 times a day, you will struggle. If you eat 2 times a day in a smaller window, or if you eat 12 times a day, well, it's hard to do that in a 4-hour window, you're going to see results. So number 1, reduce your eating frequency. What we recommend is going for 16 hours without food and then take 8 hours. That's your eating window. That's the easiest way to start, and then gradually reduce it depending on how much weight you want to lose. A 20-hour window of fasting and a 4-hour eating window, some people call that warrior fasting, is highly successful, works very fast for people that have a significant amount of weight to lose. It's very sustainable and easy to do. Do you always have to eat this way? Not necessarily, but once you get to your ideal weight, you can then spread it back out. But never, ever will you return to eating 3 times a day and more, except on occasion when there are events and things. But day to day, eating 3 times a day will gradually put the weight back on you because you're stimulating an insulin response. And insulin, that master hormone, loves to store fat, and it definitely keeps you from losing fat. Okay? Insulin can be your friend when used in other ways, but when you're trying to cut fat, you have to keep it low. Okay? And the longer you keep it low, the more your body will utilize its own fat reserves as food, as fuel, because you've been storing it for such a long time, eating too often. All right, so that you've got it. Now, number two is eat ancestral appropriate food, meaning food like our ancestors used to eat prior to us having all this chronic disease, obesity, heart disease, stroke, autoimmune disorder, all these things, type 2 diabetes, all these problems that are now killing us that did not exist prior to us eating like we do now. Okay, so foods that have one ingredient, such as New York strip, ribeye, okay, good sources of bacon. Now you got to watch bacon. It might have 20, anything that has multiple ingredients, not good. The lesser ingredients, the more normal they are, the more they make sense, like tuna and salt. Okay, we'll take salt. That's normal. Speaking of salt, you want to make sure you use a normal salt, not a refined salt. Normal salt's like a good Celtic or a sea salt. I personally use Redmond's Ancient Fine Sea Salt, or one of their versions, because they mine it out of the ground. It's unrefined. They grind it to what the kind that you want. I use the fine, and I use a coarse. I use a sea salt. It's a wonderful salt. That's what you're made of. Many times when you have cravings, that's one of our little tricks, is your body's usually craving more of a mineral, and sodium is number one, so we use that, and it works most of the time. So salt is good, right? The Salt Fix by the book, The Salt Fix, is an excellent resource on learning about salt. The low sodium approach, low fat approach, those have all been pretty much debunked, but there's still a lot of people that think, yeah, we need to keep our salt really low. Well, you need to learn a little more about that, okay? You're made of salt, you're made of protein, you're made of fat. So let's cover the next thing. So now you know you're going to decrease your eating frequency. You're going to eat normal foods, okay? Now you're going to do this. Number 3, focus on protein. You need to get a certain amount of protein per day. That's what your body uses to build or rejuvenate, repair, and recover. Okay? That's what it uses to build. That is the quintessential food of your body. Number 1, protein. It should be a normal protein. Animal-based proteins are the complete proteins. These plant things that you're being told you need to eat more plant-based protein, you have to refine, you have to process that to be eaten. You have to extract it, etc. That's not very natural, and they're usually very incomplete. So don't fall for the dogma about plant proteins like pea protein and stuff like that. You are not made of pea protein. You are not a plant. You are an animal, and you're made of saturated fat, and you're made of animal-based protein because you are an animal. So, and when you eat animal-based protein and fat, your body thanks you, and you are very healthy. Okay? You feel good, look good, perform well. All right, there you go. So focus on protein. How much protein do you need? You need about whatever half your body weight is. That's how many grams of protein you need a day. So if your body weight, and I like to talk about more ideal body weight. If you're 400 pounds, I don't want you trying to eat 200 grams of protein a day necessarily. We're talking about your ideal body weight. So if you're 400 pounds and your ideal body weight, say 200 pounds, then yeah, you want to be at least getting 100, that's half of 200. You want to be getting 100 grams of protein a day, okay? And then next, you're going to focus on saturated fat, normal fat. That's what you're made of. People are like, what? Fat? I thought I was trying to lose weight. I'm trying to get rid of fat. Why would I eat fat? Fat is a wonderful source, not only of energy, but it's a constituent that your body uses in constructing your cell membranes, etc. Now, it will use those other fats like vegetable oil, seed oils, cottonseed oil, soybean oil, all those things. Those polyunsaturated fats that you've been told are so healthy for you, canola oil, they're not. They cause problems, significant problems. Your body recognizes them as a fat, and it tries to use them like it would a saturated fat in constructing your tissue. That's why people develop cancer, heart disease, oxidative stress that leads to inflammation, that leads to all those other problems, right? So completely avoid vegetable oils and seed oils. Those are horrible for you, and they should be illegal. They really should. So focus on normal fats like butter, lard, beef tallow. Duck fat's really good. It's a good culinary thing to cook with. I use mostly beef tallow and butter and when I'm cooking my own food. So there you have it. Coconut oil is a standby in case I can't find those things, okay? But it's a plant source. All right. But it is saturated, so it's more stable. All these other oils are not very stable. We could argue about that all day. We're not going to argue here. I'm just telling you how things work and what you need to focus on, okay? So number 1 is protein. Number 2, fat. So you need more protein than you do fat. But when you are eating fat, it's good for you, okay? Some people do the ketogenic diet where they focus more on fat and limit to protein. That's okay for a relatively short period of time. But eventually you need to return to eating more protein than fat. That's the way our ancestors did it. That's the way our genetics are designed. That's the way we should do it. Okay? And then last but not least, like I said, the most important part of effortlessly losing fat. Eliminate sugars and carbohydrate. They're one and the same. Your body does not recognize whether you're eating a natural sugar like a honey versus Pepsi or a donut. It doesn't recognize that. Sugars and carbs boost your insulin, shut fat loss off. In fact, it encourages fat storage. It boosts your not just blood sugar, but the insulin, that master hormone that does control and regulate how you are going to use your carbohydrate and fat. So when insulin is spiked, you're not using fat for energy anymore. You will not burn your fat reserves. That belly fat you've been trying to get rid of, that stubborn belly fat, that visceral fat that are in and around your chest and your organs, that kind of stuff that kills you, it's not going anywhere when you're eating carbohydrates. The only way to successfully lose fat consistently until you get to your ideal body weight is to eliminate carbohydrates. Even if you do time restricted feeding, you are only going to get so far. Eventually, you have to eliminate carbohydrates. Can you return to eating them? Sure, on a limited scale, once you're lean and you hold yourself to a healthy, lean body, which is distinctly possible. Okay, so now you have all those steps. Now you're ready to take some action, and I'm sure you have questions. Please ask them below, but more importantly, I've provided some resources for you. I do have a free Facebook group where I lead people in many of these strategies, and week to week we have huge gains. Okay, we don't mince words. It's just all about getting results in there. Okay, and the market's not going to help you get healthy, but truth can. So we don't depend on what the market says. We depend on truth. And yes, we do back it up with science, but you don't need science to tell you what to do. You need a little human history. That'll tell you a lot. Okay, and I've also provided for those of you who just feel like, I need more help. I do. I need some one-on-one. I do need some guidance. I've tried all these things before, whatever they are, and you just feel like you need that help. I will be providing, if I haven't provided it now, there will be a link even in that Facebook group where you will have access to me, my team, in order to guide you through and help you, because you might be on medication, you might have other issues and other questions that just keep you from taking the actions you need in order to get healthy and lean. Okay, so I've enjoyed speaking with you today. You now have the 5 steps in order to effortlessly lose fat. Get started now. Let me know how you do, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.